Hello everybody, Ewan Spence here with the last of my video diaries from South by Southwest 2011, my trip around America, looking at this little fellow, the Nokia E7. I'm here in Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. It's the delightful Terminal D, which is almost deserted. Everybody has gone home, apart from me and 75 other passengers of American 78, which is now in its third hour of a potential 5-hour delay. If it goes much beyond that, it gets cancelled and I have to tell Vicky I'm going to be late home and it all gets home. Seemingly there's a problem with the air conditioning units. There are feathers stuck in, there's bits of birdseed everywhere. They're not quite sure what's happened, but they're going to have to replace the aircraft because they can't find out what the cause is. You made it then. Did you fly over in the plane that just flew in? Did you do anything? Honestly? Right. Tired wings? Right. Sit down. Right. Lie. There we go. No, just lie down. I've got work to do. Lie down. It's been going so well this week so far anyway. Right then. The Nokia E7. Oh, you want to help now, do you? You've been away all week. Now you want to help. Right, okay, right. E7. You're in enough trouble. Lie down. Right then, the E7. Overall, I like the E7 more than I thought, and to be honest, more than I hoped. This is the interesting thing. I had a strong feeling of what I wanted the E7 to do, and it did that very well. And then it delivered more. It delivered a little bit more in battery life. It's probably the main thing. I carry the ProPorter battery charge, and I was expecting to really have to do that at the end of every. It's okay. At the end of every day, and just like 7 or 8 o'clock at night, just to get me through to midnight. In actual fact, even though I did do that, it was more as a precautionary thing. There were 2 nights where I actually didn't do that. I just let it run and see if it would actually go flat on me. Even heavily using things like Foursquare, Twitter, and email tracking. And the great news is it didn't. It went to 1 bar, but it didn't actually die. It just kept on going. So, that's what I mean by I liked it more than I thought, and I liked it more than I would hope. Foursquare I have some interesting issues with. It's a Qt application. It runs quite slowly, and if there's one thing that did cause the phone to lock up, once I had to do it, I switch it off and on again, and I believe it was Foursquare. It's also quite intensive on bandwidth, and much as I was trying to use this phone without using Gravity, because it seems to be the default answer, it was let's just use the Foursquare application until I realised it was blasting through so much of my 10 megabyte a day allowance that it was back to Gravity just to keep things going. The keyboard input as well. The keyboard is incredibly well engineered. The slightly dome on the keyboard, the spacing, the tactile feedback, the whole thing just comfortably works. Look, can you make sure that you've knocked it over. Don't knock it over again, okay? Look, behave. I've got to get home. You got to get home. Otherwise, you'll go hungry, and I'll go hungry, okay? Right, Stu. Yes. Telling off. Right, where were we? The keyboard and input, yes. Delightful domed keys, great spacing, good positive action. I love the fact that if on the symbol keys and the number keys, if you just hold down the key, it flips to the symbol. I really like that. It was a nice touch. I would have liked it to be a little bit faster for me, so rather than 4 beats, it was done in 3 beats. It would be nice to have that as a user config, but that's probably too power user. Maybe use a third-party application as well. What I did have issues with input was with T9, strangely enough. The screen's a 4-inch screen, up from 3.5 inch on the N8, and that's just slightly too large for me to do T9 with my thumb without a bit more practice. The muscle control that worked in the C6 and the N8 almost together, even with the difference in screen sizes, that's not present here on the E7. I don't have that yet. So T9 was issues. It just meant that it was more often I was just popping it up just to do a quick message on the keyboard and closing it down again. I spent a lot of time in landscape mode because of that, and it's not something that I've regularly done, especially with the C6 designed to fit in the hand, nor the N8. It is nice to see that landscape mode is far better now than it was on some of the earlier devices like the E61 and so on. I did have one fault, and this is really, really picky, but it's this. Okay, when I'm opening the device, if we just push down here, this little plastic bit here catches the skin of my finger more than once, and when I close it, it catches it again. I'm building up a very, very tiny blister here, and if I wasn't a guitar player, this would be painful. No, I don't need it to be. Look, calm down. So, look, there are lots. Let's come at niggling thoughts a minute. Let's face why South by Southwest it was such a great test for the E7. because there's two halves. Film runs over the whole thing, but there's interactive and there's music. And in interactive, it's all about the now, the interactions, the social media, the on-the-fly planning. A Twitter DM is regarded as instantaneous. If somebody sends a DM, they assume you've got it that moment. Email is very rarely used, but you need to have DM working, and you need to be constantly checking. Now, to be honest, this wasn't the E7 that was a great success here, but it was in a way. It was using text, SMS at $2 a day for unlimited texting in and out of the phone, because you pay for both in America otherwise. And that coupled with the conversation view in messaging, which I've already mentioned, something gave me a personal tweet stream that had DMs integrated into it with push Twitters, push DMs and push ads, and it just worked wonderfully. And that was a fantastic use of that. Same as Foursquare as well, both with Gravity and the main Foursquare application. All the party organisers and everything, yeah, there are the big parties, but they're just little things that pop up. Where are people at that time of day? And Foursquare allows you to find them and work out which friends are where and to go through. Without those, my South by Southwest would not have been as good. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to fit in with new tools like Beluga, GroupMe and Hashable, because they're only available as applications on Android and iOS. And to be honest, that never happened. These applications did put a lot of marketing in, some people were using them, but they didn't really take off. It was the old-fashioned basic services like Twitter, to a certain extent Foursquare as well, because it is, let's be honest, a basic location feature. It tells you where your friends are. Twitter tells you what your friends are up to. So I just really like that. And then there's music. Actually, let's go back, we'll just half a step. Let's contrast two things. One of the other podcasts that I recorded, Room 404, that's right, room404.thepodcastcorner.com, by the way. I had a guest that was doing a recording there, Kevin Marks, and Kevin and I exchanged bucket loads of DMs to work out where we are, why we'd been delayed, and so on. And we got set up. Because DMs in the interactive community and Twitter are regarded as instant. Come music, I have to speak to Dan Wilson. Dan Wilson is the singer in his own band called Withered Hand. Yeah, you worry about that, don't you? Yeah, I can't think why. Dan's PR did all the setup of that meeting, all over email. Nobody. Now, I didn't get a single email from interactive people, apart from some PR, marketing, and messaging lists. I'm just looking over to check somebody else's plane coming in. Nothing with email. Switch to music. Nothing from Twitter. Nothing DM. No Foursquare parties or anything, apart from maybe 4 friends who stayed over from interactive. And everything was done by email. And email was regarded as instantaneous. If somebody sent you an email, they would assume that you got it that moment in time. Same idea, different tool. Old school, new school. And there's a bit more negotiation and planning that goes through in emails, but at the same time, it's still the same as Twitter. It's still the same as the fabric of anything. It's getting a message over in the way that works for that group of people. The E7 handled both the brand new Web 2.0 social media Greekarati, and at the same time, it also managed the old school digital business management. Can you turn my script notes back on? Yeah. Okay, no, actually no, don't, because you'll knock it over again. There we go. You hold the top, I'll hold the bottom. Let's talk about the fashion of the phone now. It is a 4-inch touchscreen phone. That's the de facto size when you look at things like the Galaxies, the Windows Phone devices, to a certain extent even the iPhones. 4-inch capacitive touchscreen. This looks to the naked American eye as a modern smartphone. It's when you do this and the finishing engineering pops out that they get really impressed. They love the tilt, they love the keyboard, they love the fact that it's not a proper slider and that you can put it on the table. In terms of styling and hardware, this won. I'm going to say that now. I'm going to say this won. Rather than the Galaxies, the Galaxy Tabs or anything like that. Yes, that one there. I have issues. Steve's already pointed the main one out. No, actually 2 main ones actually. The first one is 8 megapixel ED-off. I did take some pictures on it, and I took comparison pictures because I have the N8 with me as well. And when those pictures that I could take in the moment, instantly, like, oh my god, there's the old US cavalry suddenly walking up the street, that was fine. I could grab them with the E7, put in, one press, and go. You don't need to worry about any focusing. Still had a bit of camera shake on it, still managed to take some really bad pictures, but got some really nice ones as well. But when it came to low light work, inside a club, with lots of movement of the head banging, it was just, the E7 just kind of started to fall down. And I'll be honest here, I put it aside and used the N8. I know, because you have to choose the right tool for the job. And the photography, for stuff that I was really wanting to treasure and stuff that I was capturing in HD, I wanted to use the N8. So for in the moment shots, for taking pictures, for family shots and just friends and being in my pocket and being to hand, the E7 works. But if camera pictures is a great big thing for you, then it's not for you. On the other hand, of course, it's still better than most of the Android and iPhone devices for taking pictures. So comparatively, it's bad in Symbian. Comparatively overall, it's perfect. Not perfect, but it's better. It's much higher up. Okay. The other thing, there's no LRF support. Little rubber feet. So it still nicely skites around the table. Steve says put a massive bit of sticky back, plastic ruggy stuff in the back. I'm tempted just to put a tiny strip here and here when I get home, just to see how it works, because I do think that making sure that this stays fixed when you're typing and sliding and touching is an important feature. And as I said, blister on the finger coming up as well. Now, would I keep the E7? You know how much I love the C6. This actually makes me appreciate the C6 even more because of the size, but at the same time, the phones are used for absolutely different things. Stop looking at the pretty ladies going by. Yeah, I know she was looking at you, but we've got work. You've already caused enough trouble with the plane, okay? Right, okay, there, watch. Yes, I'm reading the notes. The C6 is small, it's felt, it's a great pub phone, it's great for taking out and for keeping in touch. It's great for consuming stuff coming down, and you can create stuff yourself. The E7 is very much a creator's phone in terms of writing and integration. In terms of multimedia, I'd still go for the N8 if that's my thing. But it's not. My thing's staying in touch with people, setting things up, going back and forward, lots of emails, lots of planning, lots of organising, a screen that I can see. And interestingly, the clear back display screen in the text and sun, first time I've been able to see a phone screen while walking over South Congress Bridge with the sun right above my head at midday. So that is a win. The E7 is a flawed device. The camera is not as high range as the rest of the devices in the Symbian 3 ranges. It does have a little bit of UI issue, both physically with the fact that it can slide around the table, and there are occasional issues with going back and forward, switching from portrait to landscape, which you do a lot more because of the keyboard. But at the same time, this is a device that knows what it's trying to do and does it incredibly well. It is a compromise device, but all smartphones are compromised, and it is a positive use of the word compromise here. Charlton Heston, in Texas here, so I'll pry this rifle out of my cold dead hands. I think the same is true for the E7, except perhaps I should maybe say my cold dead thumbs. I've got the Eurovision Song Contest coming up in 42 days, and I'll be 2 weeks out there in Dusseldorf. And needing to stay portable, needing to stay in touch, talking to 43 different countries to try and interview their stars, and Jedward, yeah, I'm not forgetting them. Would I want to take the E7 with me as my primary device? Definitely. Does that mean that it's passed, what test this trip over to Texas is? Yes, it has. The E7 is a wonderfully compromised device. It does what it needs to do well. The stuff that it can't do very well, it does adequately. There's no real weak spot. Everything is above average. There is room for improvement, and I'm sure I'll go into that in a lot more depth in All About Symbian in a written piece as well. But to be honest, I think the E7 is one of the best devices to come out of Nokia yet. The Symbian 3 operating system, if you can get past the acres of column inches, is just as good at doing things as Android and iOS in my mind. I'm sure people will flame me for that, but it gets the job done. At no point did I feel the phone was compromising me within the options it was presenting. It just goes. Excuse me. It just goes. The E7, in my book, gets a big thumbs up. The only thing it can't do is fix a 767. And on that bombshell,